Yesterday, I was in class for one of my classes called Organizational Behavior, where it's primarily just, about behavior and how people act and view, jobs and how you can motivate employees in different sorts of ways for a performance, stuff like that. You get the gist of it. And yesterday's class was on stress. And quite frankly, the class is quite easy, and for most part, most of the stuff that we learn in the class is pretty straightforward. But yesterday we ended the class with a TED talk, and if you see me looking this way, it's because I'm looking at my notes just so I know exactly what I want to say. There was a TED talk from Kelly McGonigal, and it was called "How to Make Stress Your Friend." And there's essentially two takeaways that I got from that TED talk, about 15 minutes in length, that I want to share with you guys. And the first takeaway is that essentially, if you view stress as something that's not harmful, you can tackle it much better than someone who views stress as harmful. And that might sound quite obvious, but as Kelly talked about in the TED Talk, and she went over like U.S. statistics and stuff, and I forgot the like sample mean or population mean, but it was a fair amount of citizens, and essentially people that experienced a lot of stress or moderate stress, they basically tracked those people for like the next 5 or 10 years. I think it was 8 years, quite precisely 8 years. And those people that view stress moderately or highly or even a little bit, they found that the people that answered that they view stress very negatively, it was like a 30% chance or something that of them dying, that they end up dying. And then the people that didn't view stress harmful, the percentages was way lower, or if I'm precisely correct, it was zero. Something along those lines. It was quite fascinating, and I definitely suggest for you guys to check it out. And I'll probably leave it down in the description down below, first link. And I thought about it, and it kind of makes sense because everything that we think of is right here in the brain, and overthinking is a crucial thing that we all experience, and that messes us up quite a lot. And there's a lot of different things like manifestation and just how you view yourself, but it makes quite a lot of sense. I mean, if I'm someone that wakes up every single day feeling like a loser, and I don't perform the best at school, and I keep thinking these things, and I just keep encouraging myself to believe these things, I probably will do even worse moving forward, because I will probably give up. I will, do a test and I'll do poorly. And then I'm just thinking of how bad I am and how much I suck and how stupid I am. And then going forward, I'm not gonna have any motivation. I'm not gonna be more inclined to work harder on it. And I'm basically gonna be a loser, as I told myself. So if you experience a lot of stress, which quite frankly, another discussion, it was one question that my professor asked, and she said, do you think, or do you want a stress-free work environment or just job? And I, in my head, was thinking, no, I think everyone needs a little bit of stress. Obviously you don't want it to be negative stress, but if your job isn't stressful, then you're not growing as a person. You're not really being challenged as a person. You're not really doing anything fun to some extent. Obviously, it depends on the job. But I feel like if you want to grow as a person and you want to, reach something or your potential or whatever it may be, like let's say basketball. If you're a basketball player and if your job wasn't stressful at all and you're winning, championships every single year, that might be fun and all, but you're not really getting better to some extent. You know what I'm trying to say? I hope that makes sense. But apart from the yapping, I agree. I think the first takeaway makes a lot of sense, especially speaking from experience. My mom experiences a lot of stress, and she obviously views it very negatively. And I've noticed for the past few years how she interacts with other people and how a lot of the times they don't want to be around her. Quite frankly, a lot of her colleagues don't want to be around her because you could say she's very negative. And when people ask questions, a lot of the times, she answers, but she always, to some extent, makes the environment more negative. You know what I'm trying to say? You know how you're having a conversation with someone, and then they're like, "Yeah, my life isn't going that well. I got divorced. This," and you're just in your head like, "You could have kept some of that away from me." You know what I mean? I love my mom, but she is, quite frankly, quite a sad person that you can kind of feel that when you're around her. And me, I experience some stress, but for most part, I don't try to, think about it too much. And, time goes on and things get better. But what she recommended is that if you have stress or you're in a state of mind where you feel stressed, maybe you're about to present something, you should notice it and you should like vocal that energy into excitement or something. I don't know exactly what she said. I think she was like yapping a little bit. But yeah, that was the first point. The second takeaway was that essentially social connections. If you are someone that is experiencing moderate stress or a lot of stress, the best way to tackle that stress is to be more social, to spend more time with your friends or your family or whoever you like. And I think that makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, firstly, if I'm around my friends more and I'm spending, fun time with them or even family, I'm not going to be thinking about, these negative emotions. I'm probably going to have some fun with my friends. And even if, if there's still those thoughts in the back of my head, it's much less likely to be thought of when I'm being distracted by something else, preferably something enjoyable or fun, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. And, us human beings, we're social creatures. I think, if you don't talk to anybody or you don't have any friends or any family and you're by yourself, you're probably going to be miserable. And someone who actually likes to be alone quite a lot of the time, and a lot of the times I skip out on hangouts or I don't go on my ways to party or whatever, I will still admit that I have to get some of that social time, or otherwise I would be really miserable. And sometimes, especially what I've noticed this past 2 months, is I've actually been better off spending a little more time with others, even if it kind of sometimes might have, made me not as productive with school, or I was, what I'm trying to say. And you just need the right balance. You need to obviously be very good at managing your time as well. But I think I agree with the second takeaway as well. I think it makes quite sense. It's quite a logical thing, and like both of the takeaways I just mentioned, they're nothing like extraordinary, but they do make a lot of sense. And I feel like some people, a lot of the times, they hear something like, for example, if you're overweight and you're like, how can I fix this? And someone tells you, just start working out. Like, yeah, wow, never thought of that. Quite simple advice, but it really is true. And with that, I kind of want to just conclude this video. I don't think there's much more for me to say. I said what I needed to say. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.